Action Playbook Live. I am Gilles Gallant, and you are watching the NFL pregame betting show here with the Action Network. We're live on YouTube and Twitter. It's the divisional round weekend in the NFL, so we're going to cover all four playoff games. We'll have player props, touchdown bets, parlays, but not just player props. We're going to talk about these certain sides and totals, how the market is moving. We'll talk with Evan Abrams, our director of research here at Action Network, who'll give us the latest betting trends and market moves for the divisional round weekend. And of course, Nick Giffen is going to join us to talk about luck rankings and which games we should be targeting for an edge. But joining me off the hop are Sean Kerner and Chris Raybon. We're going to give out our three favorite player props for the divisional round. And if you want to tail any of these bets, the easiest way is to use quick slip links in the YouTube chat. We're going to be dropping those links in the chat after every pick we make. And then you can just tail that bet as quickly as possible, get the best lines and the best odds. And if you're watching on X and Twitter, Playbook, the account at Playbook, will be tweeting our picks from the show, so you can get the bet slips there as well. All right, before we get started, one last thing. Let's talk about Action Pro, because if you want access to all of Action Pro projections, make sure to sign up for an annual subscription, because access includes exclusive player prop picks from Sean Kerner, Chris Raybon, all members of the Action Analytics team, anytime touchdown projections as well. To sign up, visit actionnetwork.com/pro today. Use code POD20 at sign up. One more time, that's POD20 at sign up, $20 off. All right, Kerner, you're up first. Looking in the Action app, I'm seeing right now, I think 5 bets right now tracked on maybe more, unless I didn't see a couple come through this morning. What is the first prop that you like for divisional round weekend?
I go with Pat Bryant under 34.5 receiving yards. I logged this at 33.5 yesterday. That's what I got it at. And you can get it now a yard better than me. I think it's only happened, a handful of times this year. Maybe that's a bad sign for the prop, but I still like it. Under 34.5 is the play here because, Bryant became the number 2 receiver in this offense after their week 12 bye. And he's been averaging, 70% routes run rate since then. So, that rise in playing time really helps elevate his floor. But he's only drawn a target on 15% of his routes this year. We have talked at length this year, Jill, about Cortland Sutton's really the only piece in this passing offense you could trust week to week. Sean Payton likes to mix it up. I mean, they still have Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, Evan Ingram's still there, Raybon's favorite player on the team. So, it's just pretty inconsistent who's going to be drawing targets week to week. But Bryant typically lines up in the slot. He's lined up in the slot at the highest rate for the Broncos. And, the Bills have been excellent limiting the slot. They've allowed the 4th lowest yards per route run. Plus, this is just a matchup where I think the Broncos might lean on the run a little bit more because the Bills do have a run funnel defense.
Right.
But they're also excellent at preventing yards after the catch. They lead the league in that department. And 40% of Bryant's yards have been after the catch, which ranks 24th out of 100 qualified wide receivers. So there's all these little things kind of chipping away at his ceiling. He could obviously catch a pass or two and clear this number. But all these things lead me to have his median closer to about 28 receiving yards here with about, a 61% chance he stays under 34.5 yards.
Yeah, you're not kidding about the Cortland Sutton, how involved he is in this offense. Because if you look at the full season sample, it's like you would think him and Troy Franklin are pretty much neck and neck, or even Pat Bryant starting to emerge. But over the second half, it's basically been Cortland Sutton and whatever else is left over. And so, yeah, I think Pat Bryant under 34.5 receiving yards is a very solid look here. Raybon, you are up next. And I got to admit, when I saw this pick in the rundown, I was shocked.
Yeah, let's go Curtis Samuel touchdown, plus 1,000. I mean, first of all, this guy has 3 touchdowns in his last 9 games as a Buffalo Bill. He's just Curtis Samuel, so he doesn't play much. But
Right.
They activated him off IR because they have no receivers. Last year, if you remember, in the playoffs, they opened against the Broncos, and the Broncos gave up a touchdown to Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel came out of nowhere for like a 3-catch, 68-yard 1 touchdown game, and he had 2 touchdowns last postseason in 3 games. That was more than he had all regular season last year, and he played a lot more. So, and that was on 39% snaps in that Broncos game. So that's realistic, I think, expectation for how much he's going to play today. Because remember, Brandon Cooks came over midseason. He's been playing about half the snaps, and then Keon Coleman's been a healthy scratch a lot. And I don't think it's just for discipline. I just think they don't really like his talent that much. Like that, he can't really separate. And I think Cooks is going to see a lot of Patrick Surtain. So that could open it up for a guy like Samuel, especially because they haven't really been able to game plan for him. So, if he 3 touchdowns in 9 games, that would be plus 200 odds. So, I don't think his odds are that low, but I do think that he's undervalued in the market at plus 1,000. I think he's a good bet for kind of a surprise touchdown because you look at this matchup and you don't know really where they're going to come from unless, Allen maybe runs them in.
I love this bet because initially when I was looking at touchdown scores for the Bills, didn't want to have anything to do with outside options. And Curtis Samuel, even in his limited role, he's probably going to line up mostly out of the slot. So that's probably going to give him more opportunities to avoid, the Patrick Surtain matchup. And then, of course, we've seen him even have jet sweeps and, carries as well out of the backfield. So 10-1, just given how barren this Bills wide receiver room is, very great find by you. Now, before I give up my pick, is this a full unit send from you?
Oh, you got to. Okay, it's the playoffs. We only got a few games left. Come on, man.
True.
Okay, so Curtis Samuel 10-1. That is Raybon's opening bet for divisional round weekend. Well, I have not great news, but I'm not fading the pick. I'm taking Josh Allen for an interception in this game. This game is now our opening segment here is kind of turning into a same game parlay in this spot. But Josh Allen, he's plus odds right now, around plus 125 to throw an interception. And I think this is a pretty good spot here to grab him because clearly, like he has no interception over his last 6 games, but I think he's just been a little bit on the lucky side because in that span, 7 turnover worthy plays and no turnovers. I just don't think that's sustainable. And when you look at Josh Allen's turnover worthy play rate, it's nearly triple when he sees pressure. And the Broncos are top 3 in pressure rate. 7 of Allen's 10 interceptions this year came when he's under pressure. Broncos pass defense is top 3 in defensive DVOA, top 3 in total passes defended. So I just think Josh Allen, it's not to say that he can't win the game or even throw a touchdown to Curtis Samuel, but I really like his chances to throw an interception. I thought it would be closer to like even odds. So that's my pick for the opening segment. But I went and got the parlay odds for this because I think this is pretty doable. Like Josh Allen throw an interception, Curtis Samuel touchdown, under on Pat Bryant receiving yards. If you wanted to parlay those 3 picks, it's 45-1 at DraftKings, guys. Raybon, what do you think of this parlay at 45-1 if we were to do this as an SGP?
I love it. I always love it when you get like an interception mixed with a quarterback, like long shot touchdown, because if he throws an interception, there's always a chance he gets pick 6 too, and then you come right back out for another drive. So, or you're just trailing and you have to throw more. So either way, there's some like positive correlation there, even though you would think it's negative.
Oh, absolutely. So, okay. So 45-1 if you wanted to do the DraftKings parlay. But again, if you want to bet them on singles, that's okay too. Josh Allen interception, Curtis Samuel touchdown, Pat Bryant under 34.5 receiving yards. Now, normally I like to do a touchdown bet to kind of start the show, but I'm going to save those for the end. My man, Nick Giffen, he's going to be joining me this week for some touchdown bets. Grant Neifert from Scores and Odds is also be joining us in a bit. He's going to do a touchdown lotto parlay for the divisional round. So Kerner, Raybon, you guys take a quick break. We'll get you back here, talk about Sunday Night Football. Let's talk with Derek Carty now and see what player props he likes for the divisional round. We now welcome back to Action Playbook Live. Derek Carty, creator of the Blitz projections for the NFL. You can follow him in the Action app at Derek Carty. And he's got 2 player props for this divisional round. And remember, we're going to be dropping quick slip links in the YouTube chat. Some of these prop lines may move as Derek gives them out. So if you want to get the best lines and the best odds, use that quick slip link in the YouTube chat. So, Derek, coming off a 2-0 week last week, where are we going with the first prop for the divisional round?
First one I'm looking at is Demarcus Robinson under 2.5 receptions, minus 145 at Caesars is the best line on the board right now. The Blitz is projecting about 1.5 here, so a full reception under. We have to pay for it a little bit, but definitely shows good expected value. It is contingent upon Ricky Pearsall coming back. If he doesn't, then I feel much worse about this, but it's looking likely that Pearsall is going to be back, so I feel comfortable enough taking it. The game script here, I think, is potentially going to work against Robinson and the 49ers. Seattle projects as the slowest paced team of the week and the most run-heavy team. This is a game where they project to be playing from ahead. They project to be running the ball a lot. They project to be slowing the pace down. And that should mean less total play volume for the 49ers. There's also the possibility that with Sam Darnold dealing with injury, he could sit, he could be less effective. Even though the 49ers are pretty solid underdogs here, it's possible this winds up being a less pass-heavy game script for them than the spread implies if Darnold is not himself or doesn't even play.
Right. Well, the other thing I was going to ask too is because if the blitz is projecting 1.4, if a 1.5 pops up again, like maybe it's at plus odds for under 1.5, like would that be something you would encourage as well, or do you think we should stick with the under 2.5?
No, I actually would prefer the 1.5. If you can get it at plus 140, something around there, that would actually be preferable for me.
Okay, yeah. So just in case of anybody's out there, but yes, Demarcus Robinson under 2.5 receptions. That is the first prop that we're going to be doing between the Niners and Seahawks. It's around minus 145. So again, shop around, make sure you get the best odds. Let's go to the second bet, and you're looking at one for Rams Bears.
Yes, I'm looking at Kyle Monungai under 9.5 receiving yards, minus 108 at Caesars is the best odds on the board right now that I could find. This one is very much a projection play. The Blitz is projecting a 66% chance that he goes under here. So at minus 108, we're getting really good value on it. I also look at a number of other leading projection systems just as a sanity check to make sure I'm in the right ballpark sometimes. And all six that I look at all show this as a plus EV bet, which I think is really nice. It's hard to kind of draw like a narrative around this one. I feel like there is some potential bad weather here, but really it's just the line looks too high compared to what the math says. And it's not just my math, it's basically everybody out there's math that's saying it. So this one looks good to me.
Yeah, bad weather spot. I mean, cold as shit. Probably is the best way to describe that Chicago weather. All right, so Kyle Monungai under 9.5 receiving yards. That is the second prop, along with Demarcus Robinson under 2.5 receptions. So those are the two props from Derek. Quick slip links have been dropped in the YouTube chat. If you want to tail either of these props, make sure to follow him in the Action app at Derek Carty. Derek, thanks a lot for joining us. We'll see you again soon.
Yep, thanks so much. Good luck, everybody.
All right, many thanks to Derek Carty joining us this week for Action Playbook Live. But now we welcome in Dr. Nick Giffen, the creator of the Luck Rankings. You can read up on that every week in the Action app or on site, where he lists the luckiest and unluckiest NFL teams based on what we saw on the field. Nick, good to see you, buddy. Where are we going with the first pick?
Yeah, good to see you too, Gilles, and good to see everybody watching on YouTube and on X, on Playbook. So first pick, we're going right to the first game of the weekend. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills team total under 23.5. This one is very interesting because I think the Denver Broncos defense will limit everything this Bills offense tries to do. Passing game, well, Denver Broncos, they play top 3 rate of man coverage when Pat Surtain is, healthy and plays a full game. You can remove those games that he didn't play. So when you do that, top 3 rate of man coverage. And Josh Allen is just 26th out of 39 qualified quarterbacks versus man coverage this season in adjusted net yards per attempt. And I don't think that's Josh Allen's fault per se, because normally he crushes man coverage. He just doesn't have any receivers that beat man coverage. Normally I would say Keon Coleman like he did last year, but the dude's been abysmal this year. Brandon Cooks is too old to beat man coverage. So, Khalil Shakir beats zone coverage. So they don't really have anybody that can beat man coverage consistently. So that is going to be tough in the passing game. And the other thing that Josh Allen does in the passing game is run. He scrambles. But the Denver Broncos allow bottom 5 rates of raw QB adjusted scrambles, raw QB adjusted scramble rates, QB adjusted scramble yards per carry, and QB adjusted scramble yards per dropback. And I QB adjust all those because they have faced a lot of very heavy rushing quarterbacks. Like 7 or 8 quarterbacks this year they've faced that have had games where they've scrambled for more than 50 yards. Yet the Denver Broncos have allowed a max of just 31 scramble yards in a game this year, outside of Week 18, where it was Trey Lance who scrambled for like 47 yards on the last drive versus them when they had their backups in. So I'm not counting that one. And then, of course, the other thing the Bills do is they run the ball. Great run offense, but they're running into the top 3 Denver run defense by DVOA. So it's going to be a struggle for the Buffalo Bills to move the ball. And when Denver has the ball, right, I feel like they can eat some clock running against this susceptible Bills run defense.
Yeah, I mean, when you look through the entire season, I don't really think any dual threat quarterback really did anything against them. Jackson Dart ran for a touchdown to kind of near the end of the game, but that wasn't really anything significant. Justin Fields, same thing. Jalen Hurts. So yeah, like it could be tough sledding for Josh Allen to get it going on the ground. And I mean, I love his interception as well. So I'm fully aligned with the Bills team total under here. So that is the first pick from Nick. Where are we going with the second one, man?
Yeah, so for the second pick from the luck rankings, we're going to go with the Los Angeles Rams to cover the -4 spread against the Chicago Bears. This game has a luck score of 1.86. That gives it a C grade, 57.5% luck-based cover probability. And what I really like here is the Rams are getting right guard Kevin Dotson back. That is absolutely huge for their run game. He has been such a better run blocker than his backup, Justin Dedich. So I think this is just amazing for Kyron Williams, amazing for Blake Corum, because especially Blake Corum, the plurality of his runs come to that right side of the offensive line, and he has some massive like splits of explosiveness and yards per carry with Dotson versus without Dotson. And the Bears, they're 28th in defensive rush DVOA.
Exactly.
So you can run on this Bears team, and I think the Rams are going to do just that, right? We have a top 3 rushing offense in terms of adjusted yards before contact versus a bottom 5 defense in adjusted yards before contact. So we might see 3+ yards before contact average for either Kyron Williams or Blake Corum. That's just massive, and that's not counting, after contact. So I think this is going to be great for the Rams to run here, and I'm totally fine with the Rams throwing the ball. Everybody's worried about Matthew Stafford's finger. I'm not worried about it. He's got his receivers fully healthy, right? We saw Devontae Adams get some deep balls last week, even with his hammy injury, so he's just getting healthier week by week. And if we just use our schedule-adjusted expected scores, which of course power the luck rankings, I'm only cherry-picking the Bears' defense since they signed CJ Gardner-Johnson and since that secondary got healthy. And in those 9 games, they have been much better, but even using just those 9 games, I'm still getting Rams -6 with our schedule-adjusted expected scores after adding in home field advantage. So I do like -4 here.
Yeah, the Matthew Stafford finger injury, I think I've heard a little too much about that this week. And I think the other thing too, his pain tolerance, I think people need to understand, like he took a big needle in his back for an epidural before the season started. I think he could play through a little sore finger here. So, all right, Rams to cover the spread against the Bears and Bills team total under. Those are the 2 picks that you are on for the luck rankings this week. But hang tight. Why don't you come back and join me at the end of the show? We'll do some touchdowns to round out the week for divisional round. But make sure to follow Nick in the Action app, Nick_Giffen, for all of his bets and analysis, of course. Bet what happens live every game of the playoffs. That's going to be in the Action Network Discord. Join that Discord, and you could catch that for some halftime bets at the 2-minute warning of each playoff game. All right, Nick, we'll see you here in a few minutes. We'll talk about some touchdowns. Let's now. Let's bring in Evan Abrams. I want to talk about some of the sides and totals and the way the market is moving. And Evan's just been my go-to guy since I've joined Action Network, just to be able to get up to date on this info. You could check out his weekly betting primer on the Action Network app. He also posts it on X and Twitter. It's everything that you need to know going into the divisional round. Now, Evan, before we talk about how some of the markets are moving, I want to talk about Super Bowl odds, because there's a little fact here that you brought up here that I find very interesting, just given where we were at the start of the season and where we are now with the final 8 teams.
I mean, the entire season, all we've talked about is parity. It feels like it's kind of the theme, and this one kind of runs with that. Buffalo right now is the lone team still in the playoffs who enter in the divisional round, had preseason odds of under 20-1 to win it all. Philly, Baltimore, KC, Green Bay, Detroit, Washington, all not here at the moment. So this is only the second time in the last 50 years we've had one team or less at under 20-1 from preseason in the divisional round. The other, 2019 with the Chiefs, they were the lone team under 20-1 and, of course, won the Super Bowl over the 49ers, something that, of course, Buffalo would like to get to the Super Bowl, but for the first time ever, they wouldn't mind winning it as well. So not a bad omen, but we will see a tough test today in Denver.
Yeah, and just thinking of some of those teams you just rattled off, like imagine the no playoff parlay for Ravens, Chiefs, Lions, Washington. Oh my gosh, that would have generational wealth type of parlay there. So all right, so let's now move over to Rams Bears and just how that market is shaking out right now. The spread I think is around -4. What's the latest that we've seen for this game?
Yeah, there's just been a lot of talk about a lot of different stuff. You mentioned the finger, which I know I won't bring up again since you said you're a little bit sick of it. But you've the weather, the wind, like there's a lot of different factors here. So as of last night, the Rams were -3.5 most of the week. They started 4. They're now back to -4. And it honestly looks like there could be getting some juice there. -4, 115, 120. We'll see how it goes. But the interesting thing is, and this kind of worked last week with Carolina covering the spread, but home dogs of 4+ points are actually 9-0 against the spread over the last 50 years in the playoffs. We don't usually see teams getting above 3, above 3.5. Now at +4, especially at home when you're the better seed, et cetera, et cetera. So interesting enough, that is where we lie. And here's the other one, which I thought was absolutely fascinating. So Bears last week closed +1.5 at home against the Packers, now sitting +4. This is the first team in NFL history. Well, obviously the wild card round only goes back to a certain point, but first team in NFL history, home dog wild card round, then home dog again in divisional round. Usually, if you show some success in the wild card round, you're usually getting the line flipped in your favor.
Right.
Not this time. Now, this is the second time we've had back-to-back home playoff games with the dog. That would be the Eagles, 2017-18, who obviously went on to win the Super Bowl. They were underdogs almost the entire way and just completely flipped the script and did exactly what they needed to do to get it done. Like Buffalo, Chicago would like to see that as well. But we will see. I mean, just being completely disrespected by the market in that sense, even though you look right now, bettors seem to be backing them 67% of the tickets and the money on Chicago right now. And that line going up. So interesting nonetheless.
Man, I haven't thought of Nick Foles in a few years. And I forgot that going along that way, you just think of how not convincing, but you know what I mean, how many points they put up in the Super Bowl. You almost forget that they were underdogs all the way up until that point. Now, Stafford finger injury aside, another quarterback injury coming up on the injury report this week, Sam Darnold with that oblique injury. Let's talk a little bit about Seahawks 49ers and how the betting is shaking out for that game.
Yeah, that started at 7.5-point favorites, which would have been the second largest underdog the 49ers have ever been in playoff history. Now that line has come down to 7. And honestly, we're starting to see some 6.5s pop up in the market. Right now, for our consensus, we've got -7, -105, and it's starting to come down even further. Now, with that, Seattle at home as a 7-point favorite, currently only getting 25% of the tickets for us versus San Francisco this week. So since 2003, which is our full Bet Labs database, we've had 199 home favorites in a playoff game. Only one has closed with 25% of tickets or less. That was the Eagles last week against this same 49ers team. So back-to-back weeks, doesn't matter if they're the Walking Dead, doesn't matter if they've got nobody out, no Kittle, we don't even know if Pearsall is going to play. People continuing to back Shanahan and the 49ers. I mean, crazy enough, back-to-back weeks seeing that high of a percentage on a team that is underdogs going up against the Eagles and now against the Seahawks. Going to see if he can move to 8-0 divisional round and wild card for Kyle Shanahan. Crazy enough.
And I think a lot of those bets too were made before the Darnold oblique injury, right? Or at least
and that's why I think
it's
staying. I think that's why it's staying kind of stagnant. And I wouldn't be surprised if I think 75-25 is a little exaggerating, but I think at 70%, 30%, I think that's something you could see by kickoff.
And I mean, if Drew Lock starts that game, that spread is just going to plummet. Like we were talking before coming on air of like what kind of point spread could we see from a change? And we were hovering around the idea of around like 3.5 that it probably would drop to if Drew Lock is the one who's starting. All right, Evan, let's talk about Bet Labs. Normally we like to do a lot of system plays. Obviously, as we get deeper into the playoffs, sometimes that might be a little trickier to find, but is there anything standing out from Bet Labs from a system play standpoint or anything that we could use for the divisional round?
Yeah, so Bet Labs actually just dropped a pick in their Discord, so I would encourage everyone to go check it out. They like an under in today, but I'm going to shift somewhere else. So I think it's intriguing about second halves because that's been the story in a bunch of these games. I'll start with the Bears. Caleb Williams, second half, he's covered 8 straight games. He is 24-11 second half ATS in his career, which is the second best mark for any quarterback over the last decade. The best, would be Josh Allen, who is also, of course, playing today, playing against Denver, and he's needed second halves as well in some of his games. Here's the intriguing stat for him. So, last 2 seasons, he's played 15 teams who are above 500. Josh Allen is 14-1 against a second half spread in those 15 games. So, he's done some crazy things. He's like 87-50 second half ATS in his career, but facing really good teams really seems to show up in the second half. So, we will see if both of those things come to play this weekend. The interesting thing about Caleb as well, terrible first half. Like the contradictory between the two is absolutely insane. He is one of the worst quarterbacks since he got into the league. First half ATS, and of course, showing up 8 straight in the second half. So we'll see if that rolls with Chicago and the Rams this weekend.
All right. Well, Evan, thank you again for joining me this week. Great stuff as always. Make sure to check out his weekly betting primer. He'll also be live tonight with Brandon Anderson for the divisional round recap show that's going to be available on the Action Network podcast. And then, so Evan, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you next week, man.
Appreciate it. Good luck, everybody.
All right, it's time to take it up a notch. Time to hit the lotto, and we're going to get crazy. Try to find a plus EV parlay. Joining me, as always, is Grant Nefer from Scores and Odds. You can find him sometimes in the Parlay Science Discord. He's dropping bets every day. And of course, Sean Kerner is always finding value in those long shot markets, triple crown, sack parlays. There's so many angles we can go with here. But let's start with Grant. And Grant, we've got a prop lotto for the divisional round. And what are we doing?
Yeah, so this one over at FanDuel, you can get it at 55-1, or you can boost it with that 50% profit boost up to 82-1. We got a leg from every single game this weekend. Let's get it started with the first one. Keon Coleman, 40 plus receiving yards plus 255. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I ladder this all the way from his normal line all the way up to 80 plus at 15-1. Who are they gonna throw it to? They don't have many guys left. Everyone's injured. Yes, Samuel's coming back, but Coleman should be in for a decent amount of play here. I know he has not been great this year, but a lot of that's just because they don't really like him. He's missing meetings. He's kind of childish. That's why he's not been in the game that much. He's going to be forced to in this spot, I think. I know the matchup's tough, but he's probably not going to get much of PS3 defense. So Coleman, 40 plus at 255. Far too high, especially when he can take a ball for 40 yards at any given time. Next up, we got Kenneth Walker, over 12.5 receiving yards. He's had 3 plus targets in 6 out of the last 8 games. The 49ers forced targets to opposing running backs at the 3rd highest rate in the league. Darnold being injured might actually help that because he might just dump it off to Walker a little bit more. Who knows how that oblique is going to bother him or if he's even going to play here. But this line far too low. Next up, Jaden Higgins for a touchdown, plus 340. No Kirk in this, it's not Kirk rather. No Collins in this spot means that he should be in for a decent amount, more snaps, more volume here because Nico obviously eats up a lot of usage in that offense. The matchup not terribly tough. Patriots below average defensively here. So plus 340 for a guy that should get a lot more playing time and has several touchdowns on the season already. Far too high. And last up, Devontae Adams over 54.5 receiving yards. I know the weather is going to be a factor. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. It might snow a little bit, and all the rumblings of Stafford playing in cold weather. He'll be fine. He's a real beast and could play through almost anything, and it's a small sample size. But Adams is going to be used heavily in this offense. Got targeted like crazy last week. This offense runs through the running game, Puka and Adams is going to be in for a full workload here. Matchup above average here. So 54.5. He's hit 10 out of 15 games so far this season. I think he hits it here. Parlay all of them together. Again, use that boost. 82-1 odds. It's an absolute banger.
Well, the one thing that I was going to say, Grant, is I feel like outside of Adams, now Adams probably could do this in one catch, but I feel like all other 3 props in this lotto, they could just be done with in one catch. You know what I mean? Like Coleman could catch a 40 plus yarder. Walker could break one for 13 yards. Higgins, we know that he's probably going to be the outside replacement for Nico Collins in this offense. So I love this. I love the fact too that like at 54-1, I was kind of in love with it. And then once you boost it, you get it up to 82-1. So a very solid find by you, Grant. Thank you very much for that. All right, Kerner, you are up and you're taking a similar strategy where you're going to be taking a prop from each game. Why don't you break it down for what you like?
Yeah, prop from each game. First one, obviously, got to go with Pat Bryant under 34.5 receiving yards. I already explained why earlier. Next up, I'm going to go with AJ Barner under 28.5 receiving yards. Once Elijah Arroyo went down, Barner's routes run rate went up to 80% over the next 2 games. And Jill, that's when I was giving him out every week on the touchdown
Yep.
show because he's also the main ball carrier in their tush push. But the past 2 games, his routes run rate is down to 60%. Over the last 2, Eric Saubert, of all people, has sort of taken over the Elijah Arroyo role and has been cutting into, Barner's route run rate specifically. And, the Niners, they're pretty good against tight ends. They rank 4th in DVOA against tight ends. And there's some uncertainty around Darnold right now. So Barner's prop has been plummeting as a result. And then for the Texans game, I'm going to also go with Jaden Higgins to score here, plus 340. He's going to have to step up with Nico out. He's actually scored a touchdown in both games Nico has missed this year. So going with him in that game. And then for the Rams-Bears game, got to go with my guy, Blake Corum here, over 45.5 rushing yards. Over the second half of the season, they really mixed him in at a higher rate. And they continued that last week against the Panthers. So this could be a run-heavy game plan against the Rams. Not sure if you know about this, Jill, but Stafford's dealing with a finger injury on his right index finger. Yeah, so they might be a little bit more run heavy, but also it's going to be freezing cold, winds in the 10 to 20 mile an hour range. And, this Bears defense is beatable on the ground. And they just lost, TJ Edwards at linebacker. So it could be an even better matchup. So give me Blake Corum there. And all this is just under 30 to 1. It's plus 2,926. So that's a prop for each game that I like.
Well, and Nick brought up too, getting the guard back should help Corum as well for some of the runs on the right side as well. So again, if this is a very Corum friendly show today, I just wanted to give people that heads up because we're going to talk about him a little bit more as the show goes on. But nice find by you. So a 29 to 1 parlay from Kerner and an 81 to 1 parlay from Grant. So that is the prop lotto parlay from Grant. Kerner has got the prop parlay as well. We just dropped quick slip links in the YouTube chat for both of those parlays. If you want to tail either of those, click the link. It'll take you directly to the sports book and you can tail that. So Grant, thanks a lot as always. We'll see you next week. Keep crushing it. And we'll see you on Bet What Happens Live soon enough with Nick in the Action Network Discord. Kerner, let's get Raybon back on here. I want to talk about Sunday Night Football a little bit more, Rams-Bears, because Rams right now around 4-point favorites, totals around 48.5. Let's build another same game parlay. We already got one for Buffalo, Denver. Let's do one for Rams Bears now. And Kerner, I think I kind of have an idea of where you're going with your prop here, but please tell me who you like.
I'm sticking with my guy from the touchdown show, my guy in general, Blake Corum to score at plus 240. I already explained, why I'm high on him. But I just consider Corum to be the best backup in the league. Kyron Williams is obviously very good. He ranks first in success rate on the season. Corum ranks third. So this is a game where I think the Rams can just lean on the run heavily here, just given the weather and everything going on. So I like Corum here at plus 240.
All right, Blake Corum plus 240, first leg for Sunday Night Football. Raybon, you're up next. And do you got another 10 to 1 for us, or what are we doing?
No, we're going to go with what I think is underpriced chalk here, Kyron Williams, plus 120 to score. And I'll talk about him and Corum in a second because I still like Sean's bet as well. But in terms of Kyron, he scored in 11 of 18 games, at least one touchdown. So that would imply about minus 158 odds. We're getting him at plus money here against a bad run defense that without CJ Edwards, they've allowed 5.7 yards per carry in the games he's missed versus 4.5 in the games he's played with a touchdown rate near 4% in the games he's missed. League average is around, 3.5. So great matchup. Since the bye, he still had a 20 to 11 snap edge inside the 10 in carries. Over Corum, 8 to 3 in touchdowns, been a little more successful. But he's also scored on a red zone catch last week. He scored 4 receiving touchdowns on the year. So he has multiple ways to score. And the reason I still like Kerner's prop as well is because in 4 of the 6 Corum touchdowns this year, Kyron has also scored in those games. So what usually happens is you're facing a bad run defense. Kyron will usually get in first. And then, they'll be given, they kind of rotate drives, and Corum will usually get his down the stretch as well. So love the correlation going with Kyron. I do think the Rams are going to lean on the run against this Bears defense.
Yeah, and like you had said, they kind of do balance each other out because they do tend to get like you get one drive, I get the next drive. They've kind of used that system here, and I'm just seeing now Evan, who was on the show a little bit earlier, he just logged in the Action app for a Rams rushing touchdown. So at minus 200, what do you guys think of that prop?
I mean, it's gonna happen. I would also go. I would go. I love all three. Like I love going Corum and Kyron. You know, because you're getting. I think Kyron, especially, is undervalued. Corum has been way undervalued for the amount of carries. And then the Rams, which like you could always get a Stafford rushing touchdown because his finger. That's not really gonna affect his running, right?
For a Puka,
Yeah, Puka. Yeah,
design run.
Absolutely.
That's
Xavier Smith.
I love these long shots here. All right, I'm not going to go too crazy here. I'm just going to take the guy that I think has the best value on the Bears side, and I think that's DJ Moore. He's around plus 320. He scored last week versus the Packers. Raybon, we talked about this on the Touchdown Show pod. Over the second half of the year, especially with Odunze out, they really leaned on him heavily. Scored 7 of his 8 touchdowns since week 8. And I know the emergence of Luther Burden and Olamide is the key. They're all like in here, but Moore is still seeing those wide receiver one routes and usage despite the emergence of Luther Burden. And they're facing a Rams defense that plays similar to the Packers. A lot of zone. They like to limit explosive plays. And Moore is also playing out of the slot the most in his career since his rookie season. And we just saw another slot wide receiver in Jalen Coker, for example. He had a huge game against them last week. So I think anything over 3-1 for DJ Moore is very solid value right now. And if you parlay those three, it's around 30-1. So I love this parlay here for Rams Bears, where we're basically going all in on a Rams rushing attack, and then Caleb comes back in the second half, gets a DJ Moore anytime touchdown. We're looking great. So that's the same game parlay for Sunday Night Football. We just dropped a quick slip link in the YouTube chat if you want to tail that Sunday Night Football parlay. All right, Kerner, Raybon, appreciate you as always. We're going to see you next week on the Fantasy Flex podcast. We'll also be on next week for the Touchdown Show podcast to preview the NFL Conference Championships. We're going to have touchdown bets for, I imagine, all 4 teams in the Conference Championships. But I want to do some more touchdown props now. So it's time to bring my guy, Nick Giffen, on because we've got some touchdown props for the divisional round. And as always, we keep the touchdown show tradition going, and if I'm going to do that, I have to bring my touchdown show OG co-host Nick Giffen with some touchdown props. So as always, Nick, you know the deal, but for anybody watching for the first time, here's how it works. We're going to keep the same format of mild, medium, spicy. So we start off with the lowest touchdown odds, and we work our way up to the highest, and then we'll finish it off with an anytime touchdown parlay. So Nick, you are up first. What are you going with a mild touchdown prop for divisional round?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's already been talked about ad nauseum. I know Sean just gave it out, but Blake Corum, anytime touchdown, plus 260 is the best odds right now, I believe, at Bet365. Not going to overanalyze things here. We've already talked about it a ton, but I do want to see if I can get you to give me the finger by mentioning Matthew Stafford's finger. So that's, Blake Corum, I love him. I mean, he's just smash spot here with Kevin Dotson back in this Bears defense.
Yeah, you talked about it in the Rams luck rankings pick as well. Just that Blake Corum could end up seeing a little bit more success as well. I'm pretty sure Stucky gave it out as well on the 6-pack with Ravon. So again, very friendly Blake Corum week for the Action Network. So Blake Corum plus 260. I'm going to go back to that Broncos game, and I'm going to take Cortland Sutton for an anytime touchdown. He's got 7 this year. It just been a target machine over the final stretch of the season. Over the last 5 games, Nick, just averaging around like 8.5 targets per game. He saw 7 end zone targets. He scored 3 touchdowns. And not only has it been a threat near the goal line, but he's also been their deep threat because in that same span, 11 deep targets. No other Bronco has 2. And we just saw the Bills. They gave up 2 touchdowns to wide receivers last week. And another reason why I like Sutton, this is the final one, I think he's a bit game script proof. Like if the Broncos are trailing, they're going to be passing more. But I also think if they're leading, like maybe like by 10 to 14, I think they're going to keep trying to score because they don't want that superhero comeback from Josh Allen, who we know he's probably capable of. So I think they're just going to keep their foot on the gas and try to score as much as possible. So there's no fourth quarter we're sitting there wondering if the Broncos are going to keep scoring. So Cortland Sutton at 2-1 is my mild bet. Where are we going with the next one, Nick?
Yeah, kicking up to medium, and I'm going to go to another one Sean already gave out on this show, but I love it too. That's Jaden Higgins for an anytime touchdown. Best odds right now, plus 350 at FanDuel. I mean, look, we're getting the wide receiver one on the team now because Nico Collins is out at plus 350. And anytime, almost anytime, you can get a wide receiver one at plus 350. You kind of have to take it. And, this Patriots defense is good, but they haven't really been tested this year. They've only faced one top half pass offense all season, and that's the Buffalo Bills twice. Every other pass offense is ranked 17th or worse in DVOA, other than technically Baltimore, but they had Tyler Huntley for half the game, so I'm throwing him in that bottom half. So they've really haven't been tested. So give me wide receiver one, Jaden Higgins, plus 350.
I love Jaden Higgins too. I love him and Xavier Hutchinson in this game. I think they're both showing value from a touchdown perspective. Just reading the chat right now, it's very baseball friendly right now. Everybody's just talking about the Mets. Like
this is all Grant's fault with Pete Alonso.
Yeah, Big Meat Pete. Yeah. All right. All right. I'm gonna go to the Niners Seahawks game. I'm gonna take Jake Tongas. He's around plus 320. Again, there's no replacing George Kittle, but he's kind of been a one-for-one replacement for him during the year. He scored 5 touchdowns, and in the 6 games that Kittle was out, he saw a huge uptick in targets. He led the Niners all Niners actually in total routes run and red zone targets in those 6 games. Even if you go all the way back, Nick, to week 1 when Kittle scored, he got hurt right after that. Tongas ended up scoring in that game after Kittle left. And now obviously the Seahawks, pretty tough secondary. They're number 1 at defensive DVOA versus the pass, but that drops all the way to 16th versus tight ends. They're bottom 5 in targets, catches, and yards to the position. So I like Jake Tongas around plus 320 to score a touchdown on that Seahawks defense. All right, let's move up to spicy. I think you're taking a touchdown bet from that game as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the other side of the ball, and I am going with our dude, collectively our dude, especially from the Action Network Discord, Rashid Shaheed,
Yes.
plus 375 is the best odds right now at Bet365. Look, I took him at plus 310 just a couple weeks ago in this same game between these two same teams, so I have to take him at plus 375, but not only are the 49ers susceptible to the deep ball, which of course is one of Shaheed's specialties, but they actually allow top 3 most punt return yards when it is returned. Now, not counting fair catches and stuff. So, Rashid Shaheed will return punts and kicks as well. They're not great in kick coverage. So we could always get a special teams touchdown from Rashid Shaheed. We've already seen him do that with the Seahawks this year. So when you've got that added bonus of the kick returns and the punt returns, and I already like him in the passing game, plus 375, too good for me to pass up.
I feel like at some point a defense just has to say, all right, we're triple teaming JSN. Like you have to go somewhere else. You're not going to get a 40% target share anymore. And finally, I think this might be the week. So if that is the case, maybe Rashid Shaheed will see more than one target. But I love him too. I ended up betting that as well this week for my Seahawks touchdown pick. All right, from a spicy touchdown bet standpoint, I ended up going with the 2 touchdown prop market. Cortland Sutton, 2 touchdowns. I got that at 20 to 1. I'm seeing 18 to 1 right now. I would still bet it at that price. I already talked about it in the anytime touchdown, so I'm not going to go into why I think Cortland Sutton could get 2 touchdowns. This next pick, though, is just because if everybody is so in love with Blake Corum to score a touchdown, I'm going to ladder it. I'm taking 2 touchdowns at 30 to 1. I mean, we all love him for 1. You like him. Kerner gave it out on the Touchdown Show pod. Stuckey did. So I'm just going to hope that maybe he scores and then rides the hot hand. Maybe they have a big lead late in the 4th quarter. He gets a second touchdown. And again, I know it's a split backfield, but 30 to 1 for a touchdown ladder here. And it's just cold. I think the run game is obviously going to be the most useful option. They're getting some of the offensive line back. So Blake Corum.
Don't forget Matthew Stafford's finger, by the way.
I know. So he's not going to run the ball. It's going to be Blake Corum who scores 2 touchdowns. So, all right. Those are my spicy bets. So I'm going to take Cortland Sutton. I'm going to ladder him for 2 touchdowns. Blake Corum, I'm going to ladder him for an anytime and a 2 touchdown as well. But now let's talk about a parlay. Clearly, we're going to have Blake Corum as the first leg. I don't think anybody's going to argue that. What do you think about putting Cortland Sutton as the second pick?
You like him for 2 TDs? We got to put him as pick 2.
All right. So we're on board with that. But I think the third pick, I like Tongas, I like Shaheed. But I think Higgins right now at plus 350, I think that's a solid third leg, especially because Kerner and Grant will have him on their parlays as well. So I like having a little bit more exposure for that. So right now, if you parlay Blake Corum, Cortland Sutton, and Jaden Higgins, so those are the 3 touchdown props. I'm seeing 45 to 1 at FanDuel. It did drop a little bit at DraftKings. It was 39 to 1. I think it's a little bit lower now. I think it's 42 to 1 as well at Bet365. But yeah, the best odds for this touchdown show parlay is 45 to 1 at FanDuel. We just dropped the quick slip link in the YouTube chat if you want to tail that parlay. Nick, before we get out of here, what do we think of this touchdown show parlay of Blake Corum, Cortland Sutton, Jaden Higgins? It's a lot of groupthink, but I love
Yeah.
like everybody loves these props. Where that's
Yeah.
probably the part where I get a little uneasy.
No, that doesn't make me uneasy. It makes me feel great when Grant's on it and Sean's on it and Raybon's on it and everybody's on it because these are some smart guys. So, you know, I'm happy to be on the same page with them. So this one feels really good. I really like it.
Yeah, 45 to 1 at FanDuel. So that's all for today. Nick, we're in the can now. Action Playbook Live, locked and loaded for the divisional round. We're going to be back here next week. We'll preview the NFL Conference Championships. We'll have more best bets. And if you missed the show and you want to get our picks, download the Action app. All of our bets are tracked there. You can get them as soon as we bet them with pick notifications. So I want to thank you again for joining us for Action Playbook Live for the NFL divisional round. Bon chance.